What is up, everybody? How are you doing today? Welcome into the Fantasy Tap. Happy Thursday, July 29th. It is almost August, and training camp has begun. Very excited. It's going to be a great episode. If you're new to us, if you're new to the show, my name is Michael, and that is John, and we have our buddy Dylan on with us today. Dylan, what is up?
What's going on, guys? Very excited to be here. Let's talk some football. We got training camp starting, like you said. Feels like Christmas.
Yeah, I'm so excited. John, you look bejoyed, if that's a word.
I am. I was just going over the show, and we left out one of the most important news pieces that happened this week that's related to camp, actually. But I'm going to wait to remind you in a couple seconds, because obviously we need to start out and let you guys know that you need to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon down below.
Ding, ding, ding. Yep. Do that. And if you're on the podcast, if you're listening to the podcast, if you could do us a favor and leave us a 5-star review, 5-star, and a little comment, that'd be cool. That'd be dope. Also, Listener League details are going to be released next week. Last year, we gave away a dope Tyreek Hill helmet, full size, fit my big noggin. And this year we got to up our game. Obviously, maybe we do like a meet and greet with Pat Mahomes or something like that. That can't.
Okay. Whoa. It's not in the budget.
Dylan said he'll chip in.
Oh, yeah, perfect. All right.
As long as I'm eligible for it.
That's actually how he paid for his spot on the episode today. Is he's paying for the Listener League prize.
Oh man. Yeah. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into the news today. John, hit him with the news. You had something that popped up that we forgot. What was it?
Well, I don't think I see it here, and maybe I'm wrong. But Aaron Rodgers actually reported up to camp this week.
Yes, he did.
And
rocking a Dunder Mifflin shirt.
Dunder Mifflin on day one, and then actually, I believe it was today, he had that beautiful interview with the press, and kind of ripped into the Packers, let them know like part of this was I need more respect. Part of this is you need to respect your players more. Comes out as the people's man. I loved it.
Yep. Yeah. Dylan, do you think, they made it to the NFC Championship last year, right?
Last year, and I want to say
the year before.
In the year before?
Year before as well, they got beaten by the 49ers, and then this past year by the Bucks.
Are they making it back there?
You know what?
They have a chance.
I think they can, for sure. And it sounds like they're restructuring his deal so that he'll play 2021 and he'll have an out right after that. So we'll have to see what happens with Devontae Adams for the long term too.
Oh, he's gone.
Working on his contract, but they said he is willing to discuss now.
Did you see his interview today?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he said one of the reporters asked him if he'd be willing to take a pay cut if Aaron Rodgers stayed, and he's like he snapped back at the reporter.
Well, I saw that he wants to be the most high paid wide receiver in football, and he deserves it.
Yeah, he does deserve it after last year. Baller. Yeah. So anyways, John, what else you got for us?
Another great piece of news out here is Lamar Jackson is actually placed on the COVID list.
That's a great piece of news.
It is a very interesting piece of news. It didn't say whether or not he was in contact with someone who was contaminated, or whether or not that he actually contracted the virus himself. But he will not be at camp for the first 2 weeks.
They said that I read somewhere where it was just the NFL flagged his test. So he may.
Who knows? He might have a chance to get a negative test in the next couple days.
Exactly.
Clear it up. That'd be good.
Exactly.
That'd be great for him. And then Kenyon Drake actually landed on the active/non-football injury list due to an undisclosed injury. He did start practice on Wednesday, but later found himself working with the trainers and then was no longer there and placed on the non-active list. So don't know what's going to be coming from that.
I think that's something to monitor because I remember he started camp last year in a walking boot.
Yep.
Before the regular, that would obviously be big news for Jacobs owners. If anything,
Yes.
with Kenyon Drake.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huge. I think we'd see his ADP skyrocket.
Yeah, Jacobs would go right back to where he was being drafted last year, I think.
Last year, I think he was being drafted as like RB8, running ADP 8, something like that.
Low end RB1.
So that'd be good for Jacobs owners. You own Jacobs, don't you, Dylan?
I'm a Jacobs owner in our main dynasty league. Absolutely. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hope for the best. Moving on, we got Deshaun Watson did practice for the Houston Texans today. He was lined up as the QB4 and actually was taking some reps on the defensive side of the ball, playing that scout team. Don't know what that kind of entails for him. Apparently, they're not looking very happy there in Houston.
Yeah, he took off his red jersey mid-practice.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good.
You know,
so what do you guys think? Because I thought there was no chance he would ever play for the Texans again, but I know he wants to show up and not get fined. Will they be able to trade him with the news?
I think they will. I honestly, I don't think he's playing for the Texans at all. I think they're just going to move forward with Tyrod Taylor and David Mills, even if Deshaun is on the team, which is crazy. But I don't think he's going to play either way. And because if he was, he wouldn't be on the scout team,
Yeah, I would expect him to be traded, but we'll have to monitor and see. NFL usually takes a while to hand out those suspensions, so it's something we have to keep up with in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I'm on the side where he does get traded, but I'm not sure that Houston gets what they're asking for. I know the most recent reports were 3 firsts plus veteran players. So, I think they cave at some point.
That's what I was thinking, because they're not going to get what they want right now until his legal matters are officially settled or until he has the suspension, so we understand what his future looks like. Right. So they're not going to trade him for less than what they think he's worth, which is, I think, at minimum 3 first rounders. So he could be an interesting situation. He might get stuck on the Texans roster for at least the first part of the season.
Yeah, and apparently, I haven't really been keeping up with too much of it, but apparently 2 more people came out just this last week.
Oh wow! No, I heard that.
Yeah.
So that's no bueno there. So
no, it's an ongoing situation here.
But
well, some happier news coming out of Seattle right now. Rashad Penny avoided the PUP list coming off that ankle injury, but sadly Travis Homer did find himself on it. Going to be something you have to monitor, but as well, Dwayne Eskridge, if you've been doing any of those dynasty drafts or any best ball leagues, he is on the PUP list. It shouldn't be too big of an issue per Pete Carroll, so not too much to look on there.
Real quick, going back to Rashad Penny, does he cut into Carson's work at all this year if he stays healthy?
Not enough for him to be worried about. Not any more than any other running back on a team that's not a true number one that's getting 90% of the carries plus per game. He might get 4 or 5 at best. He's not going to be getting a lot of pass catching work. It's going to be a small share.
I agree. I think at this point in his career, the ship has kind of sailed on him. I wouldn't view him as anything more than just a handcuff.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to get your guys' opinions. So
there you go. And going back to Green Bay really quick, or coming out of Houston, Randall Cobb was traded back to the Green Bay Packers for a 6th round pick, joining as per Aaron Rodgers' request. So hopefully some better things coming there. Aaron Rodgers said in his interview today that he said he wanted Randall Cobb to come back because Green Bay hasn't had a true slot receiver.
That's true.
And
they need that.
That could mean huge things for Cobb. And do you think I think he takes away more from Devontae Adams than Penny would from Chris Carson? You're talking about Devontae Adams getting the 10 plus target games and getting a bunch of work going to, he's going to still get the main majority of it, but
I kind of think it hurts. I kind of think it hurts Tunyon more than anybody. I don't think we see Tunyon.
Well,
I don't think it really does much.
I think it makes Lazard virtually irrelevant for fantasy purposes out of the slot.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, last time Randall Cobb was playing with Aaron Rodgers, even 3 years ago, he was, essentially nothing for fantasy purposes. You couldn't really roll him out there. So I don't think it hurts Adams. I wouldn't knock him down at all because of that. But with the other weapons there.
Are you taking Adams as your wide receiver 1 right now?
I am after the Rodgers news. It's very close with Tyreek, but, in a full PPR league, I can't pass up the targets for Adams.
Yeah. Yeah, it is difficult. I'm still on the D-Hop train, but that's another day.
Really?
Another story.
Number 1 overall?
Yeah, I like him. I like where he's going. I have him ranked number 1, but might change. I don't know. I'm still kind of undecided.
All right. Moving on, Dak Prescott exited practice on Wednesday with some arm soreness. Not something to be too worried about. Should be ready to go. It's not the ankle he just had the surgery on in this season. Zach Wilson over in New York is the last first-round pick that has not signed their rookie contract. And apparently the Jets are not budging. Now, we haven't had a situation where a rookie hasn't signed their first-round contract in a long time. The last notable one was Joey Bosa, who threatened to not sign his for the Chargers until they made a deal.
And they did.
Any chance that Zach Wilson just doesn't want to play for the Jets and decides not to?
I think it's his mom.
It's his mom.
She's a bad influence.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, he signs. I mean, he's the only Jets player not at camp.
I'm not worried about it, honestly. I would just hope that it gets taken care of sooner rather than later for his own development.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to point to. Are any of you guys people that are trying to grab him in either dynasty leagues or redraft late rounds where you've got deep rosters? Because him not being at camp this year on such a limited college experience, that's eating into his NFL play time, his chance to learn how NFL defenses work, etc. Like, does him not being practiced at day one hurt your expectations for him?
Well, in one QB redraft leagues, I'm probably staying away from him. But I think in Superflex Dynasty, he is a pretty good value right now. As a number 2 overall pick, he's the guaranteed starter. So I wouldn't mind with him being my QB2 or QB3. There's definitely some upside there, kind of reminiscent of Justin Herbert from last year. No one really wanted him. He's got an elite arm, mobility. He could surprise some people.
But Justin Herbert did play like a bigger school.
Yeah, that's true.
And he didn't have like 7 seconds in the pocket. He had like 6.
Yeah.
But still, I mean,
it's a wait and see situation.
That's true. But people were very excited for Herbert last year.
I was one of them. I'll tell you. I swore if the Dolphins took him, I would have been so pissed. But now I'm kind of kicking myself. But whatever. No, as for Zach Wilson, I honestly don't like him. In Dynasty, I'm kind of off that train. It might be because he's a Jet, but I think he has a tremendous amount of upside, but I also think the floor is super low, and I think he has the lowest floor out of all the quarterbacks, except for maybe Trey Lance. But I kind of rather stay away from him.
Going over to Washington, Curtis Samuel was placed on the PUP list with a groin injury. Won't be at practice for a few weeks. Devontae Parker as well as Preston Wilson also placed on the PUP list. But former Miami Dolphins receiver OBJ was not placed on the PUP list and actually said he felt great today.
You mean Giants receiver?
Former Dolphin.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Former New York Giant. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of Jarvis Landry and OBJ together.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
I miss Landry so much.
Me too.
It just pops up every once in a while. But yeah, not placed on the PUP list and saying he's feeling great after last season. He burned a lot of people with that injury. Any chance you guys are taking the risk on him?
I'll let you address it, Michael.
So we were talking about it a little bit before. he's kind of going in an intriguing spot, right around Claypool and right before Claypool, and right after like Brandon Ayuk. I think he's got obviously he has the talent, like the tremendous amount of talent. I think if you're an avid fantasy football player and have multiple leagues, I would take a shot in one league. But if you're a person who plays one league only, it's your family league and things like that, I'm not taking the chance on him in that league.
I'm not far off.
I don't think his ceiling is high enough right now. He could end up being a value going in the 6th round, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just on a team that is not going to throw the ball much, especially the defense has really improved this offseason.
Yep.
Great offensive line. They're gonna live through Chubb and Hunt. So I just don't think OBJ gets the targets to be an elite receiver anymore. But he could be a boom bust wide receiver too that can give you those big weeks.
Right.
He still makes plays.
Yeah.
Those training videos, he looks healthy.
Yeah, that's true. It is true. So he did look good. So
got that big play potential.
Yeah, he does. Yes, he does. So
yeah, but saw that last year in the Cowboy game.
Yeah, I mean he's got it. He just has to stay healthy. Is really what it comes down to. So let's jump into our question of the day. And it's pretty interesting. You have so many different takes on this. And I'm interested to hear your guys. Where do you stand on drafting handcuffs for your running back one? If you get Dalvin Cook, are you taking Alexander Madison later?
Me personally, no. I'm actually against the whole handcuff situation. I think it's gotten a lot of hype over the past couple of years, and people have been feeding into it more and more. And the value of the quote-unquote handcuffs for that player has gone up as well. Like, as we've seen, Pollard and Madison have been considered a handcuff for multiple years now. Last year, Alexander Madison had a perfect opportunity to come in and take over for Dalvin Cook. Because he's the handcuff, everyone's playing him that week, thinking and expecting at least 80% of what Dalvin Cook was getting you, and he completely busted. Now, if you're the owner of that number one guy, I think you can get better value on some upside players at that pick. And I think you just roll with that rather than spending the capital on a player that's going to be sitting the bench unless your guy goes down.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't have a definitive take on it, but it'll depend on the running back. I think for Christian McCaffrey, if you have the 101, you're taking McCaffrey. I'll take Chuba Hubbard in the last round to shore it up, knowing that he dealt with injuries last year. But like you said, guys like Pollard, Madison, AJ Dillon now, they're climbing in value to the point where, yeah, you're passing up another talent to have someone just sit on your bench.
Yeah, I agree. It's difficult because you may not ever play the guy, and then you drop him because you need somebody, and by the time you drop him, something happens and you end up needing him, and it's a cluster. So I agree. I'm not.
Now, if you're playing dynasty football, I do like to have my handcuff on the roster when you have more roster spaces, obviously.
Right. Deeper benches, definitely.
And eventually those running backs will get hurt throughout the year. So it comes into play in dynasty, but with redraft, I don't want to waste the roster spot always.
Yeah, there's no point. There's no need to. So sweet. Now, I think this is our last divisional breakdown, John?
Have we
Pretty
done
sure?
we haven't done the NFC South.
We have not. Yeah, we have not
Saints,
done the NFC
Panthers,
South.
Falcons.
But
that'll be the last one.
Second to last. NFC East divisional breakdown. Dylan is a Giants fan. It's one reason why we had him on.
Just gotta call him out, huh?
Yeah. But trust me, there's no bias there. I usually tend to avoid Giants players for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, we'll
at least in the last couple of years.
I feel you there.
I haven't been super hot on Dolphins players for the last few years either.
Yeah. You feel my pain.
But let's jump into the divisional winners, or I guess you can call them winners. And the team that almost took down the Bucks. I mean, They were a touchdown away. Taylor Heineke led them.
They played well. They played well that game.
Yeah, I think they played the best against the Bucks all postseason. So
I think Heineke was the only one to throw for over 200 yards against them.
Crazy. So as a whole, I mean, obviously their defense is solid. You know,
it's legit and it's young and it's getting better.
What about their offense? Is their offense going to progress this year? They added, Curtis Samuel. They added Ryan Fitzpatrick. The progression of Antonio Gibson, guys like that. Is their offense going to take a step forward?
I mean, it has to. Last year they were battling with such bad quarterback issues. Giving Dwayne Haskins those last 4 games before he was completely written off. Alex Smith, as much as we love the story, he was not a great fantasy producer. He might have been moderate, but he kind of killed the team around him when he was there. I don't think there's any reason to expect the entire team doesn't take an upgrade at this point. The only person I'm not really expecting to upgrade is going to be Antonio Gibson. That's just going to be on his total rushing touchdowns this year. Last year, he had an incredible touchdown percentage on his 170 carries that I don't think is going to be repeatable on that limited run. But I do think his pass catching makes up for a small point of that difference.
Well, I think it's interesting. Washington actually had the 9th most pass attempts in the league last year, which is kind of hard to believe because they were 25th in passing yards per game. So I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, it's hard to imagine that they won't get better for fantasy purposes. Now, I don't know. Do you think they'll be a top 15 offense? I think they'll be right around the middle of the pack.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I would say that. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick, while we're talking about him, he's going off the board at quarterback 25. Are you taking a shot on him in any leagues? I mean, like we said, Taylor Heineke is still on the roster. He, had a couple good games. But I mean, in my opinion, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be the clear starter, at least at the beginning of the season. Are you going to take a shot on Ryan Fitzpatrick at all?
No, to me, he's really nothing more than a streamer in one quarterback redraft leagues. And he's been a good streamer the last couple of years. You get the right matchup, he can have those big games, but probably not drafting Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. Absolutely not going to be spending a pick on him. But if for some reason the guy drafted falls off, he's more than likely one of the first people I'm going to be picking up in those one quarterback leagues, unless there's some other big names on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he definitely has his weeks, but he also has his bad weeks. That's for sure. And
boom or bust.
Yeah, big time. And real quick, just for let's say deep super flex league, Taylor Heineke, are you going to take a shot?
I'm stashing him. I'm stashing him in our Superflex Dynasty League because, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he keeps losing his jobs and they might decide to end up going with the younger quarterback. I mean, we all love Fitzpatrick. He's so much fun for fantasy. He's an awesome guy, but he hasn't really been a winning quarterback. He's given you some good performances in fantasy. He's supported multiple wide receivers, but he also makes a lot of bad mistakes, and he could easily lose the job halfway through the season. I do think he's cemented going in, but Heineke showed enough last year where he's on my radar.
Yeah, he's interesting. John, how about you?
No, even in dynasty wise,
just
if
in
he's
dynasty.
A cheap stash and he's floating around on the waivers, it might be worth a stash. But if you're in any sort of redraft, even with a deep roster, I don't think he's going to give you enough this season, even if he does find his way into that starting role, that you're going to be wanting to spend a draft pick on him. It's going to be a stream when necessary situation for me.
Yeah. Gotcha. And I was talking strictly Superflex Dynasty for Heineke.
Yeah.
And then a guy that I know you guys are going to disagree on, Antonio Gibson. I know, Dylan, you're quite on the Gibson train.
I'm a Gibson truther, yeah.
And then
John, I tried
John,
to trade for him in our main dynasty league with you last year.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't give you enough, and I regret it ever since.
And then John, not necessarily against Gibson, but against where he's going, maybe?
Against his ADP. totally think that he's incredibly talented and that he's going to be fun to watch this year and that he's a good running back in the league. I just don't like the fact that he's going as the running back 11 in a situation where it really wasn't anything special last year, rather than the fact that he was putting up semi-consistent numbers and playing a lot of games. And he got to start early into that rookie season too.
Dylan, are you comfortable with him being your running back 1? Maybe you go wide receiver first round or something?
No, I'm not. I would actually take him if I was able to get a running back, maybe a safer guy like Zeke. We'll talk about him a little later. If you could pair him with that, because I do think there's some risk baked into him.
Mm-hmm.
But you're taking him there at RB11 for the upside, because you got to remember Gibson was a wide receiver coming out of college. He never played running back before, so he did pretty well considering that he was learning the position. So I do think there's that chance that he becomes the 3-down guy, and McKissick might get pushed to the side, and Gibson, maybe he could get those 60, 70 targets now that he's another year in the system, having learned the running back position. And I mean, he flashed some serious talent.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm not comfortable with him being my RB1, but if I can have him as my RB2, like you said with Zeke, I'm really hot on Zeke this year. Talk about him, like you said, a little bit later, but I would love to pair Zeke and Antonio Gibson. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
But you're taking Gibson because he could be a top 5 RB. I think he's got that upside. Now you got to acknowledge the risk with him, though. I mean, we've had Josh Jacobs situation like last year. He didn't get the targets that we thought he would. So that's the same thing with Gibson. The team indicates that he might, but you can never take him at face value.
John,
yeah,
I saw
what
you
kills
made
me
a face.
for that. Yeah, I think RB5's a lot. That's just me. I just don't think he's going to be getting those targets that, I think the role's there. But with the fact that they just grabbed Curtis Samuel, who was being used in Carolina as a receiver, but also utility that would take screens, runs out of the backfield, sweeps. I think that they're going to use him in a way that's going to take away from that opportunity for Gibson to get those targets that McKissick might be regressing on. And I also don't think that they're going to be using their running backs as lining up in their slot receiver formations like they were for McKissick last year. Not only taking passes out of the backfield, but from the line. So I do like Gibson. I just don't think, and I'm on the same boat with all of you, I don't like him by running back 1. I do like him as my running back 2. I do think that the upside's there, but you're giving up so much. And in that first spot, you're going to want someone that you're going to be taking more security with. And unless you see the upside like you guys do, I just don't see it.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask a question then. You got Najee Harris. Looks like he's going around that spot. You're taking Najee over Gibson?
Yes.
Najee's all the way up at running back 1 now?
He's getting there. He's a couple
Depends
spots
where you look.
behind.
I see on Fantasy Pros he's RB11, but they're in the same range.
But I honestly, in my opinion, I think by the time
I take
draft
Najee.
week comes, Najee will be ahead of Antonio Gibson.
I think so.
And one reason to that may be is, you got people who aren't are just your family leagues, that recognize a Pittsburgh Steeler,
Yeah.
So, but then, I think I would rather Najee.
And then Mixon is the other guy going in that range. Are you taking Mixon over Gibson?
Oh man.
So.
We were talking about this.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mixon's the big upside this year.
The volume, I think, is much safer. So it depends what you get in that first round to me. Like I said, if I could get safety in the first round, I'll take the shot on Gibson.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and John, you mentioned obviously the J.D. McKissick had over 100 targets last year, I believe, or right at 100 targets.
No. He led the running backs with targets last year. He had 114.
He's RB, somewhere around there. RB 48 right now, ADP 160. So he's going late. He's going round? Sorry, geez, I just lost.
He had
113. Jeez, that's a ton. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you off of him with Curtis Samuel there?
It's not just Curtis Samuel. It's more the fact that they actually have more of a receiving core there. And like I was saying earlier, he was lining up on the line as a receiver last year because they had injuries galore, a bunch of young receivers there. They had no other options. It was more of a, hey, this is working, so we're going to keep going with it. Now they've had a new quarterback come in. The entire offense is going to be a little bit different. But I think McKissick's okay. I just
agree.
wouldn't take Otis.
Yeah, I agree.
Better value.
And then as for the wide receivers, obviously you got Scary Terry. He popped off his first year, finishes a wide receiver 2. Finishes wide receiver 2 last year as well, but was kind of I wouldn't say a disappointment, but
no, far from it.
I don't think he met the expectations he put on his first year, and I think that had to do some of with the quarterback.
Yep.
Well, where was he drafted last year? In like 4th, 5th round, right?
Yeah,
I think he definitely returned value. He was a wide receiver 20 in PPR last year.
I think people were shooting. I think people were shooting for getting him as a wide receiver 1. You know, like I felt like that was the vibe around him. You know, like, okay, I can get him a little bit later, but I think he's, shooting for that wide receiver 1. And maybe it was just me, but this year, are you on Terry McLaurin? He's currently going ADP of 29, wide receiver 11.
Well, to be honest, I think I'm taking the other guys in that range because I really don't see McLaurin's ceiling as being a lot higher than it was last year. We've talked about the other additions on the offense. So I just don't see the target share going up. It would really have to be made in the touchdown category. Could he get more than 4 touchdowns? For sure. But I don't see him getting a lot more than 134 targets.
I'm gonna grab him. I think he's really comfortable at that range, and I think he's gonna be someone that's consistent. And I think, like we were saying earlier, he's one of those safer guys. I think he's a wide receiver 1 this year, especially with the quarterback upgrade in Fitzpatrick, who's going to be taking those deeper shots. Just to make a comment on your comment. I just looked it up. His ADP last year was the end of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th round, between May and May and August of last year. So he's looking at like that wide receiver 2 category last season, and he met expectations, and that's without a quarterback situation. That was on the upside of what Dwayne Haskins could be, or whatever else found their way on it. So I like Terry at his ADP. If he falls, awesome. I'm not reaching for him. He's not a must grab, but he's a safety net.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you. A couple guys going around him real quick before we moved on to Curtis. Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, then there's Terry, and Allen Robinson. Are you taking those guys ahead of him? Or
see, I think I would. I think I'd take all of those guys ahead of him.
John?
I don't think I am.
I think
I let CD slip. I think I let Allen Robinson slip.
I think I'm taking Keenan. I think Keenan for sure.
Keenan is a must. I didn't
hear Keenan on that list.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Keenan.
I take Keenan. He's a target monster.
Maybe not CD, but I think Robinson and Keenan I'll take over Terry.
Okay. Sweet.
I've got Robinson and Terry really close together.
Very close.
But then it's that question at quarterback on both teams.
You know what's crazy is before we move on is I feel like every year we like the fantasy community as a whole gets these ADPs right. Like it's like I don't know. It's crazy. It's weird.
Yeah.
Weird. So Curtis Samuel, are you on him at all before we move on?
Not really interested in him too much this year, especially with the PUP issue. Who knows if it's going to lag? It shouldn't be a big problem, but I'm not drafting him.
Let's see. He's going off at wide receiver 45. Yeah, I'd take a shot on him there. That's pretty good value considering he finished as I think a low end wide receiver 2 last year.
Yep.
And it's a much better situation, I think, for him. And he could get those deep balls from Fitzpatrick and have those big weeks. And I do think he takes a little bit away from McLaurin. That's kind of why I don't think his target share is really increasing from last year. I think they like Samuel. They paid him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd take him where he's going.
I think I want to monitor this injury before, but if if it keeps nagging him into the beginning of the season or close to when I'm drafting, then I'll probably be off of him. But with I think he's going to take the a ton of target share from McKissick's last year.
Yeah.
So I do think that there could be value there, especially where he's going. And then Logan Thomas, tight end 10, ADP 108, former college quarterback, had a solid showing last year. I personally, I'm fading him. I'm not comfortable. I think I'm a Tyler Higbee guy this year. I keep saying it, and when he bites me in the ass, it's gonna suck. But you know what? I'm taking a tight end later.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm fading Thomas as well. I think at tight end 10, he's just going a little too high. He was Mr. Necessary last year, but with these additions, I don't think the targets continue at that pace. So I think you're kind of taking him around his ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there. You're grabbing him at where he possibly could finish as what we saw last year.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's move on. New York Giants, they finished second in the division last year. That was honestly one of the most.
They should have finished first if the Eagles had their quarterback decided to kick those field goals.
Yep.
I can't complain. They were not a good team though.
Their defense is looking better. Defense
is solid. The secondary is extremely strong. I think don't sleep on them because they will be a tough matchup for opposing wide receivers this year.
And not only is their defense getting better, but that offensive line might be taking a step forward. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Andrew Thomas was benched last year, and then he came back, but he started to play better down the stretch, right?
He had a strong finish. So to me, the Giants in general are one of the biggest question marks. Even as a fan of them, I should know a lot about them, but it's all going to bank on the offensive line and Daniel Jones. Now, It's a young offensive line. They're ranked 32nd by PFF coming into the season. They were, I think, ranked 31st for their performance last year, but they're young and they've now had a couple of years to work together. So the continuity is there. I think they could take a step up, but I don't know how strong they're going to perform, to be honest.
Well, you guys have that entirely new receiving core. I mean, your old guys getting pushed to the back. Kenny Galladay's there. Kadarius Toney drafted in the first round.
Yeah, so Daniel Jones has the weapons.
Yeah, he does.
Even Kyle Rudolph got added.
Yeah, that's true.
I also worry about Jason Garrett because if you watched the Giants last year, they were the most uncreative offense you could think of. Now, Daniel Jones, he showed a lot of flashes in his rookie year, and he took a significant step backwards last year. He just looked scared and nervous on the field. But does the addition of Galladay, Toney, Rudolph, as you mentioned, getting Saquon Barkley back, can he put it all together this year? I think he has a wide range of outcomes, in my opinion.
Yeah, he does.
Right now, he's going at quarterback 30. Now, that wide range of outcomes, obviously one of those outcomes could be that he actually balls out this year.
Yeah.
Did any of you feel comfortable grabbing him?
I'd take a shot on him. I mean, he'll be on the waiver wire. So in one quarterback redraft leagues, I don't think you have to.
I think I would rather put it this way. I'd rather have stream Fitzpatrick before I stream Danny Jones. I think maybe in the right matchup, he might, give you some numbers. But I'm really not looking. I don't think he's gonna really take it. I don't think he's gonna take a step forward. I really don't.
So, for the sake of Galladay, though, I mean, Daniel Jones was actually PFF's #1 deep ball passer last year. He had 39 deep ball attempts, 5-0 touchdown to interception ratio, 134 passer rating. And, that's the name of the game for Kenny Galladay, those the contested catches downfield. He's been a monster on that. He led the league last full season he played in deep ball receptions.
Yeah.
So what do you guys?
Deep ball reception percentage. Because he actually threw the least amount of deep balls in that area. And if he threw one more pass and it threw incomplete, he actually would have fell to 6 on that list. I like him. But he is very accurate. He did take a lot of risks last year in those 39. Those came on the fact that Sterling Shepard had some big come up games. Darius Slayton balled out in a couple games and made some really nice grabs. I don't think that he's I don't think that he's proven enough. Like the percentage is there, but it's on the smallest sample on the entire list. And out of that, because I think they used a 30 minimum, and next one on the list is and Baker Mayfield's there with like 48 or 50, and then it jumps up to those mid 50s, 60s, and he's a good deep ball passer, not great, not elite, but he did show upside there. And Mike, when you say you don't see him taking a step forward, I do. I think he does take a step forward this year. Not leaps and bounds, but I think we see a better Daniel Jones than we did last season.
I think it's impossible for him not to take a little step forward.
Yeah,
agreed.
Very bad last year.
So what does that mean for Kenny G? I mean,
that's what I'm trying to figure out. Personally, with where he's going, I'd take him, but I'm not dying to take Kenny G in any draft.
John?
I don't know if he'll see the volume. He'll be kind of touchdown dependent, big play dependent.
Yeah, that's where I'm seeing him too. Currently, right now, I think we have him at wide receiver 26 on our ADPs, and I think that he's just going a little too high. That might be about the value where he lands, but I do think that the volume issue is going to be there. Now we're questioning whether or not Daniel Jones is going to be competent this year. We're also questioning the offensive line and the receivers that we've counted out of the Giants. It's not like they're not there anymore. They just, got pushed back. And realistically, there's no reason that Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton can't come into a role the same way that we expect Devontae Parker or Preston Williams to come in as the Dolphins fans.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, I'm kind of actively targeting Kenny Golladay. I think he has a bounce back
year. You were last year too.
Shut up. Okay.
I thought you learned.
No, I didn't. If you tune into my bounce back players, he was mentioned. I think he finishes wide receiver 2 this year, returning on that wide receiver 26. And looking at the guys around him, I mean, I love Brandon Ayuk going into the year, but can he stay healthy? The whole year, and I guess it's Kenny Galladay's thing too. But I don't feel comfortable. It's kind of weird. I rather have Kenny Golladay in a question mark offense than in Brandon Ayuk in an offense that we know is going to run the ball a shit ton.
Yeah, but even when they ran the ball a shit ton last year, he was still finding himself as a wide receiver 1 in the weeks that he played.
Without Kittle.
That's fine. Give me a regression on that. He's still going to be getting reasonable targets.
I'm just saying.
Kenny Golladay, we don't know.
Kenny Golladay.
Golden Tate went there and completely fell apart.
That's Golden Tate. It's completely different.
That's Golden Tate. Golden Tate had a great career, a good career. But no, I think that the receivers in the New York Giants aren't terrible.
They're very good.
And then
no, I agree.
I know you have a huge fascination with Kadarius Toney, and I'm in the same boat. I think they both eat.
Yeah,
and I think if Saquon Barkley comes back, he's going to man his own target share, as well as Kyle Rudolph coming in and Evan Ingram. I think that there's just no way Kenny has that upside because the target share is not going to be there for him.
And that's the problem. I know there's value to be had here, but it's impossible to figure out how the targets are going to work out. Who's going to get what percentage? But like you mentioned, Slayton, he's a great deep ball threat. Sterling Shepard is a good possession receiver. We've seen him be useful for fantasy. And I love Kadarius Toney. We were talking about him before. Yeah. I mean, even before he went to the Giants, he was one of my favorite players coming out of into the draft this season. And I think he is a great value for fantasy, especially in dynasty leagues. He's going in the late second round in draft.
Honestly, even in redraft, I'm taking a shot on Toney.
I'll absolutely take a shot in the last round on him because I think there is a real chance he's a superstar, and if he is, I think it'll show right away. And
Yeah.
you know, if he went to any other team but the Giants, I think his value would have risen. It would
Yep.
have gone sky high because it's hard not to be impressed by the talent.
Yeah. I was a big Kadarius Toney person coming into the draft this year. If you watch any of our pre-draft stuff, or anyone that's watch any of our pre-draft stuff, I was very into it and I was so excited for him. But as I actually was watching the draft with Mike, drove home before the Giants picked in the first round, and he sent me a text saying Kadarius Toney went to the Giants, and that was literally one of the worst spots he could have landed, especially at a first teams that would have taken a receiver first round. But it is what it is. He'll be fine.
Yes, I was very conflicted when he got drafted because as a Giant fan, I was cheering. As a fantasy owner, I was pretty nervous. But at the end of the day, talent wins out. If someone is talented enough, will put up for fantasy.
It's true. And, look what Kirk Cousins did to and Justin Jefferson last year.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
Now the question that everybody's been waiting for. They probably thought we were going to start this Giants session off with this question. Saquon Barkley, are you drafting him or are you not?
Wow.
Yes.
That's a tough one. You know, about a week or two ago, if you asked me the question, I would have said, yeah, I'm all in. But hearing his comment when they asked him if he'll be ready for the season, he says, we'll see. That's not a good sign because 99.9% of the time, players are going to tell you, oh, yeah, I'll be ready. Don't worry about it. And it doesn't sound like he's very confident. So if you have to draft him top at 104, 105, he's becoming a risk.
Yeah.
I mean, if obviously I did the running backs avoid at their ADP. Gibson was on there. Saquon was my favorite one to throw on there because in some leagues he's going to the running back 5, 6, maybe even falling a little bit more. But like you're saying, he has been completely non-committal to coming back to week 1, not giving anyone guarantee. And then even Joe Judge came out 2 days ago and said that the Giants are going to make the right decision when it comes to putting Saquon back into the rotation. So spending that first pick, your first overall pick in a draft, or I'm sorry, your first round pick, on a player that's not going to be there for you week 1, that means that you're really already looking for replacements for that, and you're going to be spending capital on someone that, okay, well, when Saquon does come back, this person's going to be useless for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
I think the earliest I'm taking him is like between pick 10 and 12, somewhere on the turn, because at that point I know I can grab somebody like another running back right there. In case Saquon does blow up, I'll still have like a Gibson or a Joe Mixon or maybe even a Najee that can hopefully carry the load, if Saquon just completely shits the bed.
Yeah. And I mean, knowing his upside, I mean, even if he gets out to a slow start, if he gets worked back in, cautiously week 1 and 2, he could still end up as the RB1, RB2, top 3 RB. So we're going to get to Zeke in a minute. Are you taking Zeke or Saquon?
Zeke
all day, every day.
I think that's the point. But I think after Zeke, that might be the cutoff where I would still take Saquon over Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, and some of the next RBs.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm still taking. I think I'm still taking Jonathan Taylor, and I still think I'm taking Nick Chubb. I think that honestly this year, I think Jonathan Taylor's ceiling is RB1. I think he, could come out and finish. Nick Chubb, I don't think he has that ceiling just because Kareem Hunt's there, especially in any form of PPR league. But I do think that, I would say Nick Chubb finishes higher than Saquon does this year. And that's kind of where I'm riding at on that.
Yeah, well, he's safer. Yeah.
So
I've got Saquon as the low end running back 1, high end running back 2. I just think that they're going to be passing the ball a lot this year. And even though he's one of the best receiving backs out of the league, it's just not going to be enough to put him into that top 5 spot. And he hasn't played a full season since his rookie year. He hasn't really produced an elite top 5 season since his rookie year. So we've only seen one season of eliteness, and that was with a completely different quarterback and offense around him at the time, coaching staff, everything. So it's up for question what we're actually expecting from him.
And then finally, the tight ends. Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph. Any of these guys tickle your fancy?
Well, Evan Ingram was practically worthless last year with 109 targets. So with these incoming options, I don't know about it. They tried to use him in an interesting role last year. He was the underneath guy. They did jet sweeps, put him in motion, and it just did not work out to his skill set. So now I think Kadarius Toney comes in and plays that role instead and does it much better. So I just don't see Ingram being valuable. I'll wait till next year when he can sign with another team and maybe have a resurgence.
Yeah.
That's hopeful.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I think Kyle Rudolph will finish higher than Evan Ingram. Hot take here, but not like tight end like 15 or anything like that, but like Evan Ingram just not gonna.
It's possible. They signed him. They might be trying to phase Ingram out. He could be a trade candidate before the season starts or halfway through the year. You look at a team like the Cardinals or Bills, they might feel that a tight end is like the last thing they need on offense to make a run.
He was a trade candidate during draft time, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
There was talk about him going to the Bills, and then it just died down.
I just feel like there's not a strong market in the NFL right now for a tight end, especially one that's been semi-proven but never did. I mean, Zach Ertz is reporting to camp right now when he's been one of the most outspoken, please trade me tight ends so far this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if there's, I don't know. I think that, like you said, Mike, Kyle Rudolph comes in and you're looking at tight end 20 and 24.
Yeah.
Like they're both going to have games, but none of them are going to be consistent. And you're going to walk past both of them.
All right. Probably the most fantasy relevant, maybe is the word.
Oh, yeah.
Team in this league or in this division, the Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott coming back from that ankle injury. Zeke slimmed down 218, looking good. Didn't eat as much. Hopefully he does that during the season. CeeDee Lamb taking a step forward. Amari Cooper, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. What is he? And then Michael Gallup is there, of course. Also, Blake Jarwin's coming back from that Achilles or ACL. Yeah,
I think it was an ACL.
Yeah,
let's say that.
Yeah, it was his ACL because his knee. It was his knee. Yep. So let's start with Dak. I mean, last year, he was quarterback 1 through the first 5 games. Killed it.
Yeah.
Is he worth the draft pick? Is really what it comes down to. He's currently going as QB5. ADP is 61.2. So he's going in that 5th round or beginning of that 6th, end of that 5th. Is he the quarterback you're targeting?
Not targeting, but if don't want to take an early quarterback, but he falls 4 spots, and I decide to change my entire draft strategy right there on the spot, I like him. I definitely think he's the worst at his tier, but he's much better than what we can expect from Russell Wilson next year, especially if we get Dak's ceiling. And Russell Wilson's going to be going right after him. So I'm hype on Dak if I can get him at a good price. I just don't want to have to sell my entire draft for him.
Yeah, personally, I feel the same way. I would be taking Kyler and Josh Allen ahead of him for the rushing upside. But with Dak, he was going around that spot last year, and I was targeting him, and it looked like he was going to pay off before the injury.
Yeah, he totally was. I'm excited. These are my 3 quarterbacks in Dynasty Superflex. I've got Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Dak Prescott. Wow. I am stacked. So excited. Except Michael Thomas just got hurt, so that's no bueno. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've said it this draft season so far. I want to draft at the beginning of at the beginning or at the very end this year, because I think if I draft at the very end, I can grab somebody like Dak hopefully around this spot. And I can stack some, first and second round magic. Or if I draft at the beginning, I can get like a CMC or something like that. And then, grab like another solid quarterback on the turn. I like being on the turn this year. So, and I think Dak, if I'm on the back end of the turn, that 12, 11 spot, I think he's one of my.
That's the sweet spot. Yeah.
Yeah. Go-tos.
Okay.
And then Zeke, my boy, Zeke, ADP of 5.5. He's the RB5. So actually, he moved up in front of Saquon. So
he did, and it's
everybody
justified.
listens to the show. Everybody listens to the show. That's why.
Absolutely. Zeke, as far as I know, Mike, you're extremely hot on Zeke this year, and I'm on the same boat. I think he's going to finish as the top 5 running back. As someone who was slightly doubting him at the end of last season, thinking he might be done, but he just gets so much pass catching work, and if Dak's there, he's going to be getting the ball too, and those yards just add up so quickly, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I don't think he's done. Yeah, I would take him as the RB5 off the board. The only thing I couldn't put him ahead of Kamara's, Cooks, McCaffrey's, or even Derrick Henry, but at the RB5, RB6, there's nobody safer than Zeke. Even though you're not getting that elite upside anymore, he doesn't have those real week-winning performances much anymore, but you're getting an automatic 18 to 25 points just week in and week out.
Yeah, I agree. Love him this year. And then Tony Pollard, he showed flashes last year. Some even thought that Tony Pollard and Zeke would be in like a committee, or Tony Pollard may be the future. Are you taking him? He's RB37. It's kind of high.
I'm not taking him for standalone value. Again, we talked about the handcuffs. I might be willing to grab him if I have Zeke and I want to ensure myself with the Cowboys running back. But I don't see his role really increasing so much while Zeke is healthy.
Yeah, and John, I said earlier, I'm staying away from most of these handcuffs, especially the ones that are the most common names like Tony Pollard and Madison right now, just because of how highly they're going.
Yeah.
You can grab some upside a little bit later.
Leonard Fournette is right behind him. Gus Edwards, I know he is somewhat of a handcuff, but I think he has a safer role in his offense.
Yeah, he's got more standalone value.
Pollard. Yeah,
for sure.
So, and James Conner is going right in front of him, and I love James Conner this year.
Give me James Conner.
See, these are all guys that could be the starters for their team.
Yep.
The RB1s for their team. So
and then like I said, this team is the fantasy most relevant fantasy team in this division. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, wide receiver 10 is CeeDee Lamb. He has jumped up ahead of Amari Cooper, who is wide receiver 13. Who are you taking? Comes down to it. Is Amari Cooper going to be the wide receiver 1, or is CeeDee Lamb going to be the wide receiver 1 on this team? And fantasy wise.
I think that CeeDee is going to be the wide receiver 1. I think he's going to be a lot more consistent this season. As we know, Amari Cooper's been kind of a boomer bust player. Last year, finally found a little bit of consistency in a bad quarterback year. But I think CeeDee was just getting so many targets, especially at the end of the season, consistently catching them and showing the talent behind it. With Dak Prescott there, I think he's going to take a step further. Be a little bit more confident, and if not a 1A, 1B, then a 1 and 2, and he will be that one.
See, I like both of them, and I do want to mention this here, but Amari Cooper's pace with Dak Prescott last year through 4 games was 204 targets, 148 receptions, and 1,600 yards. Now, that's not going to repeat. They were just throwing at ridiculous levels. And if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said Cooper, but coming in with the leg injury, that's not good for wide receivers. So I'll take the upside in the young CeeDee Lamb, because I think he could really have that breakout year this year. So I'm okay with where he's being drafted.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, not to toot our own horn, John and I did have him as our consensus 11 coming in January. I think it was. We posted something.
Were you talking about CeeDee at 11?
Yeah, CeeDee. Yeah, CeeDee at 11. And on it, and we got a ton of flack for it because Amari Cooper this and Amari Cooper that. I think, to be honest, I think CeeDee's a little too high. Just being that there is the possibility that Amari Cooper is that team's wide receiver 1. But I do think he's a great upside because I think he could finish as his upside is a top 4, top 3 wide receiver. I mean, I think he's that good. Especially with Dak, he almost threw, in 2019, almost threw 600 times and threw 530 in 2018. So, and with the added game, I mean, he's going over 600 this year.
Yeah. Ever since Kellen Moore took over as OC, this has been a pass happy team. So I'm definitely okay with either guy in the 4th round. And I think pretty safe. We've seen that target share really go up. But I think CeeDee Lamb really has the ceiling this year.
I definitely think that. Oops, sorry. I was just going to say really, really quickly. I think that I'm finding myself drafting Cooper more this year, and that's mainly because when I see them both sitting there, I'll take whichever one falls to me. Kind of like a Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp situation. I think both of them are going to have good seasons. I just think that CeeDee's going to have a better one, but
so you're happy
I'll see
with
which
both
one falls. Yeah.
You're happy with both too. Okay. Dope.
Yeah, so how about Michael Gallup?
Yeah, Michael Gallup, wide receiver 36, ADP is 73.7. You know, obviously he had a wide receiver 2 finish before CeeDee Lamb got there. But didn't have, he finished as a wide receiver 3 last year, and back end wide receiver 3. So it's kind of where he's being taken now. What are your thoughts on him? Dylan, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on Gallup?
See, I just think that Lamb's role is going to continue to rise. I think the targets go up. So where he's going right now, I think I'd pass on Gallup. He'll be a pretty solid boom or bust flex option. But I don't know if they'll be able to support 3 wide receivers with CeeDee Lamb in his 2nd year this year. I think he could see 130, 140 targets, and Cooper as well. I don't think there'll be quite enough for Gallup to be an every week play.
Mm-hmm. How about you, John? I know we talked about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, but no, I'm just not grabbing him right now. I think there's better value at where he's going. And I think you're saying boomer bust, and I think that boomer bust is going to end up hurting people because they're going to be chasing those booms and then putting them in their lineups and ending up busting, and those losses rack up and keep you out of the playoffs.
Yeah. One name that sticks out to me that's going behind him a few spots, Antonio Brown. Would you rather have Antonio Brown or Michael Gallup?
I would take Antonio Brown over Michael Gallup.
Hands down. Yeah. I think the targets he's going to receive. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're on the same page there. And then as for the tight ends, Blake Jarwin was a breakout candidate last year. Unfortunately, tore his ACL. Dalton Schultz did show up. Do either of these guys, tickle your fantasy? Keep saying
no,
that. I need something else.
Not really. I think they'll both probably have a role, and that'll hurt each other. So I'm really not interested in grabbing either.
Like an Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph situation?
Yeah, it could be similar to that.
Both of them are going to be on the waiver wire week 1.
Definitely.
If one of them takes over and balls out, there's someone I would grab early on and seeing a little bit and hoping on later in the season, but not drafting.
Dope. And let's finish it up with the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts had a few weeks last year that lit the world on fire, and he is currently going as the quarterback 8.
Absolutely
ADP of 93.2. That's
absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I think we're all
in agreement with this one.
Yeah, it's we got somebody Rob Street he commented on one of our YouTube videos saying how to make a video on Jalen Hurts and why he's going to be a league winner this year. And Rob, this is for you. He's not.
No.
So
see, I just don't have any confidence in him keeping the job. 82% completion percentage last year. And we talked about Deshaun Watson earlier. The Eagles are becoming one of those teams that might make a trade for him.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Their coach is already saying that there's going to be, or what did he say today? He said that Hurts is taking first team reps for now, quote unquote. And Joe Flacco's there. That I'm not taking him as my quarterback. There's no point. There's no point to take that risk as your quarterback. You've waited that long. Grab some more depth. Wait a little bit longer. Grab Tannehill.
All right, question. We all have a consensus that he's way overvalued.
Okay.
When would you take him?
Oh, good question.
Well, I think
when does that upside come in?
I think around QB 12, 13. I don't think, extremely overvalued, but I would not be taking him ahead of Brady, Tannehill, Herbert, any of those options, because the rushing upside is certainly there. There's a world where he rushes for 1,000 yards. He could be a terrible NFL quarterback and still produce for fantasy, but I'm just not secure with his job security, to put it bluntly.
So let's see. As the quarterbacks sit, Tannehill is 12. Matt Stafford is 13. After that, it goes to Trey Lance. Are you? In my opinion, I'm taking Hurts over Trey Lance.
Yeah.
I think we can. So
until we hear that he's the starting quarterback, which probably doesn't happen.
Even then, I think I'm going to take. Even if he is the starting quarterback, I think I'm going to take Hurts over Lance because Lance is so raw. But anyways, my question was, are you going to take would you take Stafford or would you take Hurts?
I'd take Stafford.
I take Stafford as well.
Yeah. So falling right behind that, he's going quarterback 14 and where we're taking him, boys.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Bear with me.
So now Miles Sanders, running back 19, has had some high hopes, and just not really. He's been inconsistent, but with Hurts there, he did have a decent ending to the season, if I'm not mistaken.
It was statistically nice.
Statistically.
Yeah. We're talking about a 3-4 game sample size. The rest of it wasn't so great.
Yeah. The rest of it was pretty bad. I mean, well, actually, if you look, I mean, he was injured off and on last year, but I mean, week 2 through 6, not too bad in full PPR, put up over double digit points each week.
Yeah. Well, he was still seeing enough volume, but now you have the coaching change with Sirianni, and he's already said that he wants to deploy a committee. He's pretty much against having a workhorse back. So you bring in Gainwell, Boston Scott, Kerryon Johnson, Jordan Howard, I think, is still on the roster.
Yeah, he's there.
It's getting really hairy, and there's a lot of other backs there to take targets away from Sanders, which you don't like. And in not a very productive offense, I think I'm out on Sanders.
Yeah, I would have to agree. John, what do you say?
I'm out. He's another name that was on my early or overvalued running backs. And one of the things I'd love to point out is even when he was playing his games with Jalen Hurts under quarterback, his best game came on a 115-yard week, 14 carries for 114 yards. He got 82 of those yards on one of those carries. It just happened to be the third longest run of the 2020 season. And obviously, and 3 of his runs came and at 72 yards or more, which ended up being 25% of his total yards on the season. And so when you're asking for someone to produce that much of their total share of points that they're going to be getting off of a few breakaways that were top 15 in the league on total yards on those plays, it's a lot to be asking, and it's a high draft capital.
Yeah. Real quick, before we move on to the wide receivers, Miles Sanders is looking at it in the ADP perspective. He's really, other than Mike Davis, he's really the only one here that is the standalone back in his backfield, potentially. I mean, like you were saying. But Josh Jacobs or Miles Sanders?
Jacobs. I mean, I've been a Jacobs guy, but that's pretty easy for me.
And then Mike Davis or Miles Sanders?
Yeah, that gets close.
Neither is the answer.
I'm trying to go neither because I would hopefully already have had my RB 1, 2, and maybe 3 by then.
Yeah.
But What do you think, John? I think I would go Sanders over Davis. I don't have much faith in Davis for the long term, keeping that job.
And that's what I'm saying. Until the Falcons sign or do something, trade for another running back,
or Javian Hawkins emerges. Yeah,
he could. But we did see that Mike Davis was very, very strong in the running game and pass catching game for Carolina when taking over for CMC. He was someone that was filling in spots very, very well on most fantasy rosters. But I do have that doubt in my mind. Everyone disappoints in a few weeks.
Kind of faded.
He did fade.
Yeah.
He had like, I think three very solid weeks, faded for like 5, and then had like a couple more.
He felt like he was great because of you picked him up off the waiver wire and he had some great weeks, but he really wasn't a consistent option throughout the rest of the season after that first stretch of games.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't extremely consistent. And it wasn't until CMC came back that he actually started falling off, and then CMC obviously getting re-injured right away. But even after that, I mean, the first couple of weeks he was getting 25 points a game. After that, he was still giving you like flexible numbers. And if you're replacing him as someone, you're obviously not trying to compare him to Christian McCaffrey. He's not giving you Christian McCaffrey numbers.
No.
But he was giving you numbers well enough to fill that flex role for you. And I think that's what you're getting on the low side. Hawkins could step into a big role, but I think I'm going to take Davis over Sanders right now.
Okay. I'm going to be on the Sanders train. And then one more real quick, because I know there's a guy I wanted to bring up while Dylan was on the show. Travis Etienne or Miles Sanders?
Personally, it's Etienne for me. I don't know where you guys feel about that, but in full PPR, which is what I play exclusively, I got Etienne a couple spots ahead. I really believe in the guy. I think he'll win out. They didn't draft him in the first round to sit on the bench, and he's a guy who can do a lot on limited touches.
How about you, John? Etienne, Miles Sanders?
They're pretty close for me. Full PPR, I could probably give the edge to Etienne. My problem is they are also hyping up the fact that DJ Chark's going to be getting a bigger role. Marvin Jones was just brought in, and then they're obviously working with a rookie quarterback there. I think his pass catching upside's obviously there, but what is it really? Where is it ceiling really? Obviously they can't throw him the ball 100 times as well as LaVisca 50, DJ Chark 60, Marvin Jones 50. James Robinson's going to have some sort of role in that offense as well. And so the fact that that's there, it just kind of limits his ceiling for me. So anything outside of full PPR, I think I'm going to take Sanders.
Okay.
I want to mention one more name real quick. What about Darrell Henderson with the Cam Akers news?
Oh, I'm taking Darrell Henderson for sure.
Over Sanders? That's an easy call for me too. I'd take Henderson.
Until they trade
drafting today, I was going to say, if I was drafting today, I'll take Henderson. But I do see the fact that they're more than likely going to be signing someone or trading for someone by the season start, and it's going to be too much of a committee for me to want to spend that.
Dylan gave me a first-round pick next year for Darrell Henderson. I really appreciate it.
Another league where I had Cam Akers in our Superflex league. He was my RB1, and he went down. I had to replace that workload.
All right.
I didn't mean to do that to you.
It felt too high, but I like him for this year.
Yeah, you sent me that message. It's like, I got to play this off. I got to play it off like I'm not interested.
Yeah, like it's. Were you dancing, celebrating?
Yeah.
No, he texted me and asked me what I thought.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, take that and run.
Pull the trigger.
Jalen Reagor, of course, Devontae Smith coming out of Alabama, the Heisman winner. Devontae Smith's going ahead of him. Wide receiver 32, ADP is 68, kind of high. And then Jalen Reagor, ADP of 126.4, wide receiver 59. He was hurt off and on last year.
Yeah.
Just didn't really pan out, which what Eagles receiver does at the end of the day. Travis Fulgham stepped up, wide receiver. He's going as wide receiver 94 right now. For a few games last year. Do any of these guys do you like any of these guys?
I'm not targeting any of these guys realistically. But I do like I like Devonta Smith for his ADP if he falls just a few more spots. I think him or Jalen Reagor, one of the two of them is going to be very involved in his offense this season. Obviously, Travis Fulgham got that huge bump up because Reagor was out, Arcega-Whiteside was out, Ertz and Goddard were both missing time back and forth, and Fulgham took a hefty share.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're going to be seeing either Reagor or Devonta Smith taking that next step and taking over that share as well as their own share that they would have gotten. And I think it's going to be Devonta Smith after that first round capital just spent, especially with new owner or new GM, coach on the hot seat. It's rough in Philly. They got to look good this year.
Yeah.
They just got rid of Carson Wentz. Like, they have to do something and look like they're a competent football team. And it's got to come with making Hurts look good, making Devonta Smith look good, and hoping that defense can hold it.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a team that's probably bottom 3, bottom 5 in total pass volume. But I think one of these guys has to step up to be fantasy relevant just on target share alone. And I think it will be Devonta Smith. I'm okay with taking the shot on him with where he's going.
Yeah, so I'm out on him.
Really?
Jerry Jeudy's right behind him. And I asked you both before the show, Jerry Jeudy or Devonta Smith. Guys, give me your answer. Give me your answer.
This season, I'm going with Devonta Smith.
It's Jeudy for me. But I've been a Jeudy believer.
Judge Jeudy, baby.
Yeah, and I think if Teddy Bridgewater is the QB there, I think for PPR, Jeudy could actually have a mini breakout season.
Mm-hmm.
If I had any confirmation on the quarterback there, it might skew it a little bit. But I think I'll take if Drew Lock's starting week 1 through 4, Judy's not going to be seeing anything. And if Sutton's coming back fully healthy like he has been, Noah Fant's there, and Javonte Williams starts getting a decent target share in the backfield, Judy's not going to be the guy. I mean, he might have a solid finish. You might see 2 top wide receiver 2s there. But I think that Devonta Smith has the opportunity to be a high-end wide receiver 2 just on possible target share, especially if Zach Ertz is gone.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the tight ends. Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. Yeah, Zach Ertz probably not going to be doing much.
What do you think? Does the news of Ertz staying actually affect Goddard for you? Because I was getting pretty interested in Goddard. I don't think Ertz is going to play a large role, even if he does stay on the team. So I wouldn't affect Goddard for me too much.
It wouldn't affect him for me too much. I feel like I'm just on the train of Philly as a team I'm staying away from.
Me too. Most of these guys are off my board.
I have Goddard in some dynasty leagues because I do think he's a solid talent. It's just it last year really messed it up. I think if Carson was still there, I think Goddard going at tight end 7, I'll take that all day. Just because of the stability, and I think he's a better passer and things like that. But the way everything's been panning out there in Philly, it's kind of killed my Philadelphia Eagles vibe.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I do want to say, though, he was seeing targets while Jalen Hurts was playing quarterback last year. Goddard did have a relevant stretch there. He was getting consistently 6, 7, 8 targets a game.
Yeah, and I also think tight end 7 is kind of high though too. I mean, with the guys going behind him.
I mean, my philosophy is usually to stay away from those mid-round tight ends because more often than not, they don't take that step forward. You go early tight end or you practically punt the position.
Yeah,
in most
pretty much. So
I'm gonna have to agree with that.
Wow, we did it, guys. NFC East. That was a good show. Long one, but a good one. So guys, everybody, Dylan, thank you for joining us. John,
thanks for having me. I'll be back anytime.
Definitely. We will have you back on the show. John, thank you for joining me every week per usual.
No, just here.
Yes.
Just like to hang out sometimes, talk football.
Man. But anyways, guys, if you could please like, subscribe, click the bell. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, a 5-star review would go a long ways. Also, tell a friend. That would be dope too. And then don't forget to join our Discord where we talk fantasy football and gambling and more sports, stuff like that. That link will be in the description. But yeah, it was a great show. Guys, you have any last words?
Yeah, I do want to say one thing. If you guys have any topics that you guys want to see us talk about in a future video or anything like that, make sure to leave it down in the comment section below. We'd like to read all our comments. We'll get back to you, and would love some to hear what you guys are looking for.
Dope. All right. Well, we love you guys. Thanks so much, and we will see you next week. Mwah.